in Unreal Engine 5, specifically 5.7, they've been working on adding additional tools to make it a little bit easier to set up your HOTAS or whatever kind of joystick and foot pedal or hand thrust system you have set up. Just so you're aware, there's a lot of different systems and they come in a lot of different flavors. Right now let me kind of show you here real briefly. I'm working with a HOTAS, so I've got a thrust stick there, and then I've got an actual joystick there. But in theory, this could be done with any number of setups. I'm going to kind of show you generically how to do it and how to find whatever important information you need for your specific setup. So to start off with, we're going to start from the very beginning, the very basics. And with that being said, there's two plugins you are going to have. That's going to be Enhanced Input, which I'm sure most of you are already using. But then also the Windows Raw Input. This is what's going to give us the ability to handle things that aren't directly supported by X input. So we go to our device manager, and from here there's something called a human interface device. Now basically this is going to show you a lot of different stuff, but the thing we're going to want to look for is there's going to be a USB and a HID. Basically you want to look at the USB version and then go to properties. From here you're going to see a detail section and click hardware IDs. This is going to be the actual product ID and the what do they call the other one? Let me pull it up here. There's going to be your product ID and your vendor ID. So as you can see here, if we pull that back up, let's go ahead and go properties, and then we're right here. All right. So your vendor ID is going to be this first number, your VID. It's only going to have 4 digits, 4 alphanumeric characters right here. So mine's 06A3, and that's for HOTAS. That is the X52 Logitech Professional HOTAS. And then you've got your PID. This is your product ID. Mine is 0762. Now it's going to be different for each and every single setup. So the one thing that is a little bit unfortunate about this is that you will have to probably gather a few different vendor IDs and product IDs. The cool thing is there's a lot of communities out there. There's a lot of information out there. There's a few lists that I've seen compiled in a few places. So you should be able to gather together a few. The hard thing will be you won't really be able to test it until you get feedback from customers, but generally they have a very similar setup. So once you've got your vendor ID and product ID, and that's going to be these last 4 alphanumeric characters here, you want to make sure you add a 0x beforehand. This basically is just, if you don't understand programming, it's basically a part of programming, and it's something that needs to be added there to these IDs just to clarify to the system. Now, as you can see here, once you've got that, you've got a bunch of access and button properties. You don't need to worry about these too much at the moment, other than just understand that these are where you're going to find your keys. So as an example, right, for me, I have it's 0 here, but it's USB, generic USB controller access 1, 2, 3, and 7 are the ones that my setup uses. If we go ahead and look in my IMC, for my thrust, it uses 7, and so that gives me the access for my handle. And then in my yaw, it uses 2, and so that's going to be an access that is, I believe that one is just my left and right. So if I'm turning my controller like this, and then I've got a roll is set to axis 3. That's actually the twist. So I twist left, twist right, and then my ship can roll left, roll right. And then I've got my pitch, which is axis 1, up and down. I think I also had 2, but I'm not actually using it at the moment, but I have it turned on as well. But all right. Once you've got your things set up here, you can't test them yet. We'll get to that here in a moment. But this is where you're going to find the different ones, because you want to disable any that you're not using just to make sure they don't interfere with any kind of normal inputs from anywhere else. So once we've got our information filled out here, what you're going to want to do is go to enhanced input. That's going to be right here. And you're going to want to make sure to turn on the world subsystem. So there's the enable world subsystem experimental. If you don't turn this on, it won't work. So if you go ahead and turn that on, now I set a default world subsystem, but I don't think technically this is strictly necessary so long as you add the mapping there yourself. But I added it here because I know that I'm only ever using the one mapping subsystem, so I'm adding it to the subsystem just to tell it, hey, here's my mapping. From here, once you've got it added, you can go to your player. Now, depending on if you've got it set up in your controller or in your pawn, you'll go to one or the other. If you're in your controller, then you'll just need a reference to your player pawn. If you're in your pawn, you can just drop it right in here. But you'll want to get the Enhanced Input World Subsystem Experimental, which you can just search for by, of course, typing in Enhanced Input, if I can spell today. And you'll grab that, and then from there you're going to pull off and you're going to add actor input component. And this is basically just going to tell it, hey, add the world subsystem actor input component. And then once it has that, that is the majority of what you need to at least get started. Now, in terms of actual testing, what you're going to want to do is initially just leave everything enabled in the project settings as far as the accesses go. But you'll want to go and find, a tutorial level or somewhere. And then from here, you're going to need to input a specific command, and that's going to be show debug world subsystem input. And you're going to get a very similar screen to the enhanced input system. And as you can see here, there's a lot of different things going on. But if you look closely, I can't really show you here with my mouse, but I've got different actions. For example, the yaw ship is triggered right now, and that's just because it's constantly reading from the controller. And then I've got the pitch ship and roll ship are also reading as well. Now you probably want to add a dead zone for anything like a HOTAS, just to make sure that very small values don't accidentally get read as values. As you can see here, it's reading a 0.001. So a dead zone of a 0.01 or 0.005 or something like that will give you just enough breathing room to make sure you're not constantly triggering updates when you're not intending to be. But let's go ahead and just fly around here for a second, just kind of show off that HOTAS is in fact working. So let me go ahead and accelerate. Now I'm using my HOTAS a little bit differently from maybe some other systems might. So mine is not a thrust from 0 to 1. I'm actually doing from 1 to 0 to -1. That's because my player ship has forward and backward engines. But I've also got my, pitch down, pitch up, yaw right, yaw left, roll right. And of course I've got my nav ball there showing me how to line up with my current velocity, so I can cancel that out. But yeah, that is the majority of what you need. And so a lot of what you're going to need to do is just do a lot of testing, figure out what accesses affect which actions. So what I usually recommend to do at first is dump those first like 7 or 10 in just an action that will get triggered. And then do something with the controller and try to see if you can at least get something triggered. You do have to watch and make sure, because it might be being triggered, but maybe you got two that are canceling each other out. So you just watch closely. If you see it triggering, then remove some of the ones that aren't, and then kind of work through it. It does take a little bit of effort and time, which is a little bit unfortunate. Let me actually throw that in reverse. But it's as simple as that to get it set up. And the nice thing is, once you've got a basic setup, most HOTASs should use the same bindings. But if they don't, the cool thing is things like Steam allow for input overrides. So players can input their own key bindings for how they want it to actually work. And so that should mostly allow them to still use their system with the game. One thing I will say is you'll need to double check and make sure that everything works correctly. For me, when I have this enabled, I do notice a bit of weirdness with the mouse until I add the dead zone. So let's go take a look at that here briefly. So if we go try to fly it by mouse and keyboard only, so if we go here and go to tutorial, you'll notice that there's like a little bit of movement, and that's because it's detecting a little input. But if I try to go up and down like normal, it doesn't work. Side to side seems fine, but up and down is not. It's like it's overriding slightly the input, and that is mostly due to the fact that it is pretty much overriding the input. So what we'll do is we'll go into our yaw here. We'll add a dead zone modifier. We'll set this to 0.005, and then we'll also want to do that for the roll and for the pitch as well. 0.005, just enough of a threshold to make sure that we don't accidentally trigger it when we don't want to. All right, so let's save that. Now if we go back in here, what we'll do is we'll go first to the main menu, and then to tutorial. All right, and let's make sure, let's see. Go ahead and trigger our world subsystems. So it's no longer triggering, but as you can see there, yeah, the mouse move seems to be being affected by it. So there's a couple ways you can tweak this. What I have chosen to do in my own project is I actually put this behind a controller checker, essentially. I've got built into my instance. So if we go look at my instance, my game instance, down here at the end, I've got a connection change state, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a very simple check so that if a HOTAS is connected, then we'll activate that subsystem if there's a actor available, of course, but otherwise we're going to ignore the actual subsystem. So let's actually take a look here. One of the easiest ways you can do that is we go here. Now there's a few different things you can do. You can do it off of connected and things like that. But the easiest thing would usually be to pull off of the platform user ID or the input device ID. And then from here you can, yeah, here we go. So you can get a string and you can just say, hey, does this match? And then of course you'll want to do some testing, of course, and find what strings you want to have the HOTAS be active for versus not active for. But that's kind of up to you and however you want to implement it. But yeah, I think that is it for today. If you have any other questions, let me know. But otherwise, good luck and good hunting.